Now this is something different. This is the Arms S510, but it's the twin cylinder version, which looks like a side-by-side shotgun. That's the only reason. It's just to get more air into it with having two cylinders, and this one is the full length barrel, so it's not an FAC, it is sub 12. It's pretty much exactly the same as mine. It's just longer and has an extra cylinder. That's the only difference. But I was contacted by someone who bought one of these through my recommendations, and he hasn't got a clue on how to use it. He's had it for quite a while now, and he's not had the chance to actually get out and shoot it. So he lived relatively close-ish. When I met him, he gave me the rifle. He just said, I just want it sorting. Gave me some pellets, which were some Air Arms 8.4 grain pellets. Said it shoots really well with them. But I have brought a few other pellets with me, and what I'm going to do today is 4 different pellets. Just going to shoot at a target 40 yards, and then whichever one performs the best, that's the pellet I'm going to set up for the ballistics. And this is one of the new updated Zuluses. You can actually input the data into the scope itself. You don't need a phone, you don't need an app. You can just directly put it straight into the scope, which is, you know, fantastic. That's really good. You don't have to rely on a phone. That's what I'm going to do from today. Just test these 4 pellets out at 40 yards, whichever one groups the best. We'll then put that data into here, and then we'll set up all those ballistic calculations. First up is going to be the Air Arms pellets. These are the ones which he says, you know, work very, very well. I'll be the judge of that. Today is pretty good conditions, not much wind. Let's get this focused in and let's get this zeroed for him. Wow, they are awful. They've got to be some of the worst pellets that's ever gone through any barrel. I mean, these are Air Arms pellets. That's very strange, because this guy said these are going through the same hole at 25 yards. I'm not quite sure if I believe that. That is awful. Good job I've got these 3 different pellets to test. I hope one of these groups alright. Yeah, I couldn't even hit the target at 40 yards. That is terrible. Just before recording, I took a few shots just at 25 yards, just to see where it was shooting. And it was shooting very, very low. I mean, really, really low and very far to the right, which is not good. It had a 20 MOA rail on it, and an Air Arms has a dovetail, and these mounts are Picatinny. So you have to put an adapter on. Now, he had an adapter on, but it's the really cheap, I think they're about £5 from eBay or Amazon, these really cheap Picatinny adapters. And when I was looking at it, I could see that it was the poor quality, so it was actually bending, which is probably why it's sat sideways and it's shooting very far to the right. Now, because it's shooting really, really, really low, that's not a problem. It just means he's got the wrong mount on. So I put a 35 MOA mount from the 20 MOA that was already fitted, and it's brought it right back up. It's a lot closer than what it was, so it is a lot better. Because when you are putting these adapters on, you are raising that scope height quite a lot. So 35 MOA rail on an Air Arms S510 with my own Eagle Vision adapters, Picatinny to dovetail. And yeah, it seems to be a lot better now. Right then, QAS. These have got to be better. QAS, never let you down. What a fantastic pellet. Now we're starting to pick things up a bit after that shocking first group. BSA Gold Star, not bad there. So H&M Barracuda 8, here we go. That's those 4 pellets tested. Go down there, take a look. I already know the Air Arms hasn't won. That is absolutely shocking. I don't even know where they were shooting, really. There's actually quite an interesting result there, which I'm just going to point out. But first we're just going to look at these groups here. And we'll just talk about them. So I know that air arms were just absolutely awful. Then the QAS, which always performed quite well. Just had that one there, but I know that I'll be able to get this under the size of a 5p coin at 40 yards with a bit more time. But that is promising there. BSA Gold Star, not bad. Got the one there, so we'll discount the air arms and the BSA, and then we had the H&N Barracuda 8s last. Now that wasn't the best group, however, something rather strange happened. My 5-shot group that I was testing, this is where I just practice. I'll just fire a few shots first. The first 5 shots from the H&N was here. I've lost my 5p coin. Look at that. That was the initial 5-shot group before doing that group. So I'm not quite sure what happened, but the first 5 shots were absolutely fantastic. But for the initial test, it produced a group like that. Not quite sure what the reason was. Not much I can do about that. But I do know that QAS are very consistent. I know I can get that under the size of a 5p coin. And I think that's what I'm going to set this rifle up for. We're going to go with the QAS and we should be on for a winner. What am I going to do now? Well, this person who's called Andy, he wants his rifle set up with a 0 of 25 yards. That's what I'm going to do. 0 at 25 yards. I'll then push the target out. I'll put a target at about 45 yards just to check the ballistics, input that into the scope, and then obviously we just need to manipulate things if they are not quite 100% right. Hopefully they're 100% when I put it in, which would be very good. But I'm just going to set that up now, and we'll set that up with the, what did I say, QAS, and then hopefully everything on this rifle and the scope will be shooting exactly how Andy would want it to be. All the ballistics are entered in, so we're just going to check our 0. This won't be on, I know it won't, but this is why we're doing 0. I mean, it's not far off. Just give that tiny little tweak and then we'll push it out to further distance. Second shot. Touch left. Just doing little tweaks at a time, so I want to get it right. There you go. Right, we're bang on. Now we're going to push this out to about 45 yards and check out the ballistics, see if they're all working as they should. 45 yards now. Let's see if this all comes together. You can see it's shooting slightly high. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change the BC within the scope itself, just so it drops it down, so that, well, my holdover will then be put into a different spot, that little green hash mark. What I've done here is I have increased the BC because I'm telling it that it's more efficient than what it is because it's shooting high, so it's not creating as much drag as what it thought it would have done. So now I've increased the BC within the scope itself to tell it that it's actually shooting more efficient than what it thinks. So this should, hopefully, be a bit closer. That's telling me I need to increase it even more, because I only increased it a little bit. So let's go a bit more drastic and let's really give it some. We're changing the BC here from 0.019. I changed it to 0.021. Now I'm changing it to 0.026. That's it's not super drastic, but it's, well, we should see a bit of a difference. Let's try that. You can see it's just dropped a little bit there. I'm not too bothered about the drift because there is a bit of a breeze going from right to left, so I'm not bothered about that. I'm just more interested in the height, but that looks a lot closer. 0.026. I'm now going to increase that to 0.029. I wonder if I've gone too far here. So it's shooting high, so I'm increasing the BC until we can just bring it down. You can just see it's very, very close. It really is. 0.029. Didn't think we'd be up into the 30s, but we'll give it a 31. I see, that is right on the limit there. I think it's going to be 0.030, and I think that is where I'm going to leave it at. I think we're pretty much there. 45 yards is still quite a good distance for a sub 12 as well. 0.030. We can just see it landing on the left. I'd probably say that's where it's at, 0.030 for this rifle, and that BC is now correct. Once we've increased the BC, because it was shooting high, now it seems to be, the height seems to be pretty much perfect now. So yeah, I'm pretty happy with that. What I'm going to do now, because the 0 is at 25 yards, and I'm going to put target out probably about 15 and 10 yards and see if the ballistic is correct there as well, because that can also be out, but we'll go check it. Now we have a target very close at 10 yards, and we're going to see if the ballistics are actually right for where this is saying. So here we go, take our first shot. Can't argue with that. That tells me that the scope height information that I've inputted into this is perfect. I'm glad I don't need to adjust that. We'll take one more shot actually, because we have another target here at a slightly different distance, and this one is 15 yards. So you can see now that one's changed. So you can see the height on that, pretty much perfect. Try another. So look at that. I mean, 15 yards is going to go through the same hole. Not with their arms pellets, they were absolutely shocking. But the QAS, very consistent pellet, looks as if the 0 at 25 yards, we then pushed it out past that, and we had to manipulate the BC to get it to shoot where it needed to shoot. But then below the 0 is where you won't touch the BC, you'll adjust the scope height, but the scope height is absolutely perfect. So yeah, this is now ready to go back to its owner. I'll have to tell him to get some QAS pellets and not shoot the air arms. And yeah, so hopefully that'll be a satisfied customer. I'm not a gunsmith, I am no expert. A lot of this stuff I figure out along the way, so I understand people's concerns when they buy something which they might see on my channel, such as Andy. He bought something through watching my channel, watching my videos, really impressed with the Zulus, bought it, and then was a bit overwhelmed with the technology that's in it. When I first got my digital scope, I was exactly the same, and I am still learning now, and I am no expert. There are people out there who know a lot more than me. I just enjoy shooting. But I felt obliged because somebody bought something through my recommendation, and they were a bit confused by it, so I wanted to help him out. So yeah, he just needs to go buy himself some pellets. So yeah, hope you enjoyed this one with this rather unique rifle and my cheek riser, which I dropped in the mud.